I stood at the kitchen sink, my hands trembling as I held a soapy dish, when Leo's words sliced through the air like a knife. "You're going to wash the dishes, right? Because if you're not, you can look for somewhere else to sleep. This isn't a hotel." The cynical smile that accompanied his words was the final straw, the overflowing of a lifetime of silent humiliations. At 62, I finally understood it was time to choose between my dignity and a roof over my head, and for the first time in decades, I chose dignity. But to understand how I reached this moment of revelation, I need to go back in time, to when I was a 20-year-old dreamer, married to the love of my life, building brick by brick the house where I raised my daughter, Patricia. It was a time when every sacrifice had a purpose, every renunciation had meaning. My husband, John, worked as a bricklayer, and I cleaned houses to supplement our income. Our fingers were always stained with cement or detergent, but our hearts were clean of regret. I vividly remember the day I discovered I was pregnant. John scooped me up in his arms and twirled me around the empty room of our still under construction house, promising our daughter would have everything we didn't: education, opportunities, a better life. And that's exactly what we did. We worked double shifts, saved every penny, and dreamt of Patricia's bright future. For 18 years, I was a mother, a homemaker, a worker, a friend, a confidant. I woke at 5 in the morning to make John's coffee before he left for work, then woke Patricia, made her school lunch, took her to school when she was little, returned home to do the housework, went out to clean houses, came back to prepare John's lunch, picked Patricia up from school, helped her with her homework, prepared dinner, tidied the house, and only then, when everyone was happy and comfortable, did I finally allow myself to rest. I never questioned this routine. In fact, I found a deep purpose in it, a feeling of building something bigger than myself. I saw the pride in John's face when he introduced me as my wife, the hardest working woman in the world, and my heart overflowed with happiness when Patricia got excellent grades in school, knowing my sacrifices were paying off. The years passed like pages in a well-known book. Patricia grew up, graduated high school with top marks, and earned a scholarship to study business administration in college. I cried with pride at her graduation, watching my daughter receive the diploma that represented all our realized dreams. John was radiant, whispering in my ear, "We did it, my love. Our daughter will have a better life than ours." But life has a cruel way of teaching us that not all endings are as happy as in fairy tales. John was diagnosed with stomach cancer when Patricia was in her second year of college. The diagnosis hit like a hurricane, devastating all our plans and dreams. For 2 years we fought the disease. I sold my few valuables, worked in 3 different houses a day, took out loans I knew it would take years to repay, all to pay for treatments not covered by insurance. I spent sleepless nights in the hospital, holding John's hand as he slowly wasted away before my eyes. Patricia tried to help, but she had her studies, her future ahead of her. I didn't want her to drop out of college for our sake. So I carried the burden alone, as I always had. John died on a Tuesday morning, holding my hand and whispering that I was the bravest woman he knew. He left me a widow at 50, with debts that seemed bigger than mountains and a heart broken into 1,000 pieces. But I still had Patricia, my reason for living, my greatest achievement. After the funeral, my daughter approached me with tears in her eyes. "Mom, I'm going to drop out of college to work and help you." I hugged her tightly and said, "Don't even think about it. Your father died dreaming of seeing you graduate. I'll keep working, and you'll keep studying." And that's exactly what we did. I worked even harder during the next 2 years. I woke up at 4 in the morning, worked in 4 different houses a day, came home exhausted, but always with a smile for Patricia. I wanted her to graduate without worries, to have the opportunity to build the life John and I had dreamed for her. When Patricia graduated, I was in the front row of the ceremony, applauding until my hands hurt. She dedicated her diploma to me and her father, and at that moment, I felt that all the sacrifices had been worthwhile. My daughter was a graduate, independent, with a bright future ahead of her. But real life is more complex than our motherly dreams. Patricia got a job at a mid-sized company, and 6 months later, met Leo. He was handsome, talkative, seemingly successful. At first he tried to win me over too, calling me dear mother-in-law, bringing flowers when he came for dinner, praising my cooking. I wanted to like him, I wanted my daughter to be happy, so I ignored the little signs my intuition pointed out. The first sign was how he treated waiters when we went out to dinner. He was abrupt, impatient, as if those people were inferior to him. Patricia laughed, saying that's just how he was, a bit explosive, but with a heart of gold. The second sign was when he started making comments about our house, saying it was a bit outdated, that it needed a modern renovation. The third sign was when he suggested that Patricia should look for a better job, because a woman of my social standing can't work just anywhere. But Patricia was in love, and I didn't want to be the kind of mother who interferes in her daughter's happiness. When they decided to get married, 2 years later, I organized the party with the little money I had, still paying off John's medical bills. It was a beautiful wedding, small but full of love, or at least I thought it was. At first the couple lived in a rented apartment, but when Patricia got pregnant and lost the baby in the 5th month of pregnancy, she fell into a deep depression. That's when Leo suggested they come live with me temporarily, until she recovered. I opened my home without hesitation, happy to be able to take care of my daughter at such a difficult time. This temporary lasted 3 years. In the beginning, everything seemed to work well. Leo helped with some expenses, Patricia gradually recovered, and I felt useful taking care of the house for them. But gradually things changed. Leo started making comments about how I should modernize my cleaning methods, how my food was too simple for his palate, how I should contribute more since I was living for free in the house that was ironically mine. Patricia, still emotionally fragile after losing the baby, was letting herself be influenced by her husband's comments. Slowly, I stopped being the respected mother and became a kind of unpaid housekeeper. I cooked, cleaned, washed, ironed, organized, and still worked outside the home to help with the household expenses. The humiliation started subtly. Leo made funny comments about my age, about my simple clothes, about my old-fashioned habits. Patricia laughed along, as if it were just an innocent joke, but each laugh was a stab in my mother's heart. Then came the suggestions. Leo suggested that I should wake up earlier to prepare a decent coffee for them. He suggested that I should learn more sophisticated recipes, because they sometimes brought friends over for dinner. He suggested that I should keep the house impeccable, because the house was their calling card. Gradually, I lost my space in my own home. My favorite armchair in the living room was replaced by a more modern sofa that wasn't comfortable for me. My paintings were taken off the walls because they didn't match the new decor. My books were put in a box in the bedroom because they took up too much space on the shelf. I adapted to each change, shrinking a little more each day, making myself smaller so as not to bother them. After all, they were young, had an active social life, and needed to feel comfortable at home. I was just an elderly lady who should be grateful to have a place to live. But what hurt me most was seeing my daughter changing before my eyes. The caring girl I raised, who always treated me with respect and love, was becoming a stranger. She didn't defend me when Leo made his malicious comments. On the contrary, sometimes she herself made remarks that hurt me deeply. "Mom, couldn't you make an effort to dress better when we have visitors?" Or "Mom, you've always been a bit stubborn with your old habits." Or "Mom, you need to understand that times have changed." I tried to talk to her privately, but she always avoided the subject, or said I was being dramatic, that I should be happy to have a family that welcomed me. As if I were a stranger being welcomed out of charity, and not the mother who dedicated her whole life to giving her everything I didn't have. The months dragged on like years. I woke up every day feeling a weight on my chest, a deep sadness that I couldn't explain even to myself. I had lost my place in the world, my identity, my worth as a person. I was just a shadow wandering through the house I had built myself, serving people who seemed not to see me as a human being worthy of respect. And then came that fateful night. I had spent the whole day preparing a special dinner, because Leo had invited some work colleagues. I made my best roast chicken, golden potatoes, a colorful salad, even a homemade dessert. The table was set with the china I received as a wedding gift, candles lit, everything perfectly organized. During dinner, I was practically invisible. I served, cleared plates, brought drinks, always silent, so as not to interrupt the conversation of the important adults. The guests complimented the food, but only addressed Patricia and Leo, as if I were just a hired employee for the occasion. When the guests left, I started to clear the dirty dishes. There was a mountain of dishes to wash, wine glasses, cutlery, platters, pans. My feet ached from standing so long, my back complained, but I knew that if I didn't do it that night, I would find it even harder to clean the next day. That's when Leo appeared in the kitchen with that mocking smile and said the words that changed my life forever. "You're going to wash the dishes, right? Because if you're not, you can look for somewhere else to sleep. This isn't a hotel." At that moment, something broke inside me. It wasn't a violent break, like the shattering of glass. It was like when an old dam finally gives way to the pressure of the water, slow, inevitable, definitive. I looked at that man, whom I had welcomed into my family, whom I had fed at my table, who slept in my house, and I felt a crystalline clarity take over my mind. It wasn't anger that I felt. It was something much more powerful. It was the awakening of my dormant dignity. "No," I said in a firm voice I didn't recognize as my own. "I'm not going to wash the dishes tonight." The silence that followed was deafening. Leo stared at me, mouth agape, clearly surprised by my reaction. Patricia huffed from the couch, with the irritation of someone bothered by a minor problem. "Oh, Mom, is this going to start again?" But I didn't respond. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't justify myself, didn't explain myself, didn't apologize.